Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. Let's get started and look into our daily quiz. Before we start with our today's practice questions, we have a small announcement. UPSC Civil Services Preliminary Examination is conducted on 5th of June, which is today. After your examination, you don't have to search through the entire web. All that you have to do is log into our YouTube channel at 8 p.m. for the entire analysis of the prelims question paper 2022. So for the questions that the UPSC would be giving, we would analyze, discuss, and we would also give you the expected cutoff as well. So please do tune in on our YouTube channel at 8 p.m. today so that you can understand how was the question paper, what could be the possible cutoff, and we will also explain every question in a way that you would be able to understand. Let's get started and look into the first question. Consider the following statements. Uranus has the lowest density of all planets in our solar system. Neptune is considered as a lopsided planet. Uranus and Neptune are often called planetary twins. Which of the statements given above are correct? The answer to this is 3 only. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Hindu makes a reference to Uranus and Neptune. Let us try and understand what are these options. When we look into the first option, it says Uranus has the lowest density of all planets in our solar system. This is a wrong statement. Why? That is because it is not Uranus, but instead it is Saturn. Since it is Saturn and not Uranus, the first statement is wrong. When we speak about Saturn, it is one of the largest planets. It is the second largest planet in the solar system. It is made up of gas and is less dense than the water. Since it is lighter than the water, it can also float on the water. None of the other planets in our solar system can do this because they have a higher density than water. So remember, Saturn has the lowest density of all the planets and it is not Uranus. So the first statement is wrong. When we look into the second statement, Neptune is considered as a lopsided planet. This option is once again wrong. That is because Uranus happens to be considered as a lopsided planet. This happens to be unique in our solar system. The massive planet Uranus happens to tilt 90 degrees on its side. This orientation might be due to the collision which the planet saw when it was at the formative stages, and as a result it is not Neptune but instead it is Uranus. When we look into the third statement, yes, Uranus and Neptune are often called as planetary twins. That is because they have plenty of similarities. These planets are the major planets in our solar system. They are about the same size. They are roughly about 15 times the size of the Earth, and both planets spin much faster than the Earth, completing their rotations in less than 17 hours. And as a result, the third statement is right. The first and the second statement are wrong. So the answer to this would be 3 only. Now let's look into the next practice question. Munneru River is a tributary of which amongst the following rivers? Kaveri, Godavari, Krishna, Narmada. The answer to this is Krishna. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Hindu makes a reference to the Munneru River. When we speak about Munneru River, this happens to be a left bank tributary of river Krishna. So remember, this can be very important from the preliminary examination point of view, that this happens to be the left bank tributary of river Krishna. It originates in Warangal district of Telangana, flows in the districts of Khammam district and Krishna district. What is this article speaking about? The article here is speaking about sand mining. When we speak about sand mining, it is extraction of the sand from the river. What exactly happens? If it is happening on a sustainable level, they would be able to recover it. But this is happening on an unsustainable level, and as a result, it is illegally being extracted in certain places, and this sand is used for construction activity, particularly in the construction of buildings, houses, government projects, so on and so forth. So this article currently says that there is unsustainable sand mining extraction that is happening from Munneru River. Why is the river sand preferred? That is because when it comes to the construction, it requires less processing and also has far better quality than any other source. As a result, what we have is the river sand mining that happens in this particular place. So indiscriminate sand extraction will also also be a major environmental problem in the near future. What could be the likely impact? As you can see the river has a particular flow as shown in this image. So it also has a particular flow on an area. Now if the sand is removed from the outside part of the river, then the river flow would change as well. This, if it change, this can also result in flood-like situations, and all these areas where the sand mining occurs, it can be resulting in flood-like situations in those places, inundating multiple regions in that particular place. Added to it, it forces the river to change the course, erode the banks, and ultimately it also destroys the habitat of the aquatic animals, microorganisms, besides affecting the groundwater recharge as well. So the groundwater levels decline in all these nearby villages along the river due to indiscriminate digging of the sand quarries. It is this that we have to understand from this article. Now let's look into the next practice question. Which of the following statements about International Telecommunication Union are correct? It is a specialized agency of United Nations. ITU is headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland. The Global Cybersecurity Index is an initiative of ITU. Which of the statements are correct? The answer to this is 1, 2 and 3. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the PIB makes a reference to the International Telecommunication Union. What is the role of the International Telecommunication Union? It acts as a catalyst in fostering cooperation among the countries to promote their participation in the global communication satellite system. So if we look into the options, it says it is a specialized agency of the United Nations. This is the right statement. Where is it headquartered? It is headquartered in Geneva in Switzerland and happens to be an international organization where the government and the private sector coordinate global telecom network and services. So what are the functions of the International Telecommunication Union? This can be broadly categorized into three sectors. Which are these three sectors? One is the radio communication, telecommunication and the telecommunication development. So the functions include allocation of the radio spectrum, allocation of the satellite orbit, developing technical standards for the networks for them to function seamlessly, striving to provide access to ICT to underserved communities worldwide. The ITU also brings out several reports related to the telecommunication, and one of the reports that it brings out happens to be the Global Cybersecurity Index report, where it speaks about how cybersecurity is present in that particular country. Now if you look into the further facts, the International Telecommunication Union and India became the member in 1869. India comes under the Asia Pacific region of the ITU. India is actively engaged in all three sectors of the ITU on different platforms. The Department of Telecommunication is the nodal agency for coordinating with ITU from India. These are the important facts that you have to remember from the preliminary examination point of view. Now let's look into the next practice question. Consider the following statements with respect to lifestyle for the environment movement. The idea of life was introduced by Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi during the 26th United Nations Climate Change Conference of the Parties in Glasgow. The idea promotes an environment conscious lifestyle that focuses on mindful and deliberate utilization instead of mindless and destructive consumption. Which of the statements given above are correct? The answer to this is both. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the PIB makes a reference to the life movement. What is this lifestyle for environment movement? This happens to be a collective movement. Collective movement in terms of what? Bringing an awareness to the people. We know for the fact that this earth is not only for us but also for the future generation as well. So it is not just about utilizing it, it is also about making sure that these resources are also passed on to the future generation as well. In order to make sure that everything is sustainable, what we require is the collective participation of the people. So what we require is a mass movement for the environmentally conscious lifestyle across multiple sectors. The sector can be fishing, agriculture, dietary choices, packaging, housing, hospitality, so on and so forth, whereby the idea of life is to basically ensure that there is mindful and deliberate utilization of all these resources instead of mindless and destructive consumption. So the focus of lifestyle for environment is basically to ensure that there is a mass campaign to encourage and nurture the people to adopt environment conscious lifestyles. And this idea of life was introduced by Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji during COP26 in Glasgow. Now let's look into the next practice question. consider the following statements. It was during the reign of Iltutmish that Genghis Khan reached the Indus in pursuit of fugitive Khwarezm prince. It was during the reign of Muhammad bin Tughlaq that Timur occupied Multan and crossed the Indus. It was during the reign of Devaraya II of Vijayanagara Empire that Vasco da Gama reached the coast of Kerala. Which of the statements given above are correct? The answer to this is one only. When we speak about Alauddin Muhammad, the Qasim Shah, he had to flee during the Mongol menace under the leadership of Genghis Khan. He came looking for help from Iltutmish, who denied it. So the first statement is right. When we look into the second statement, it is wrong. That is because Amir Timur crossed the Indus and laid siege to Multan in 1398. At that moment, Muhammad Tughlaq was on the throne of Delhi. Third statement is also wrong. That is because Vasco da Gama arrived at Calicut in 1498, whereas Devaraya reign ended in 1446. So the second and third statement is wrong. The first statement is right. So the answer to this would be one only. Now let's look into the fact of the day. The fact of the day for today's discussion is DISHA, which stands for District Development Coordination and Monitoring Committee. So what is this DISHA? There are a large number of programs and ambitious policies which the government of India has come up with. These are being implemented for the improvement of the infrastructure. They are also being implemented for improving the human development for the people of the country. But at times these policies and the program initiatives that the government of India has taken might not be succeeding. Why? Because of the lack of coordination. So in order to bring a coordination between the central government, the state government and the local bodies, what the government of India has come up with is called as DISHA. So basically, Development Coordination and Monitoring Committee is being formed with a view to fulfilling a better objective of coordination among all the elected representatives, which include the parliament, the state legislature as well as the local governments. So these committees would monitor the implementation of the programs in accordance with the prescribed procedure. So the government of India gives a prescribed procedure and guidelines, and all these guidelines will have to be followed, and ultimately this promotes synergy and convergence for the greater impact. So when it comes to this DISHA, we have the chairperson. The chairperson of DISHA should be the member of the parliament who should be an MP of the Lok Sabha elected from that particular district, and he would be nominated by the Ministry of Rural Development. So remember, when it comes to the chairperson of DISHA should be a member of Parliament Lok Sabha elected from that particular district and nominated by the Ministry of Rural Development. What are the terms of reference that would be given to DISHA? Ensure that all programs are implemented in accordance with the guidelines. As we just discussed, there will be procedures and guidelines given by the Government of India. This will be implemented by this coordinating committee. Facilitate coordinated solution to remove constraints of any kind. Facilitate smooth implementation of priorities determined by the DPC. Resolve matters related to provision of the land and space for faster rollout of priorities. Guide DPCs about all the national programs and how they can be leveraged to transformation of the district. Identify issues for follow-up in the parliament, state assemblies and local governments for timely achievement of the objectives, and ultimately intensely monitor all the time-bound national initiatives for the universal coverage. So basically all of these parameters will be covered by the District Development Coordination and the Monitoring Committee. It is this that we have to understand with respect to DISHA. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.